we working with? Look at those hips. You can make you smile. Come here, child. Who's the sexy girl? Who's the sexy girl? Who's the sexy girl? Who's the sexy girl?
Well, that's the cold open. Where is this supposed to be?
It was actually quite hard to narrow this down because there have actually been some pretty good titles coming out this year. I mean, you've got Borderlands 3. You've got games like Outer Worlds as well, which I thought was going to be my game of the year. But today, instead, I'm going to give some love to the indie side of things and say that it was Creature in the Well. Now, if you've not played that, don't worry. Old Jules is going to explain what it's about. It's a dungeon crawler, like an isometric top-down thing. And I bet you think to yourself, oh, seen that, done, been there, got a t-shirt. You probably did. But then here's the twist. It adds pinball into the mix. So your character is using all of these light balls to basically smash open puzzles, charge up different facets of this underground facility that grows and grows and grows because you are trying to undiscover what is the creature in the well. What is its purpose? Why is it tried to destroy all of this civilization? And as you go around, you get little pieces of the backstory, delivered in tiny little fragments that you can find. New weapons that say split the energy ball into 5, like a scatter shot. It's one of those games that rewards you for having a certain play style, but being able to flip between them on the fly. It's a really clever game, and one that I don't see that often, like pinball. When's the last time you saw a good pinball game that wasn't Kiss Pinball on the Mega Drive?
The Sonic one!
Sonic's Pinball. That was actually pretty good.
Pinball and Windows XP.
Oh, okay. So. Yeah, that was pretty good as well. Yeah, fair enough.
Right, so again, objectivity and subjectivity, which is what we're playing with here all the time. But yeah, my favourite personal best game of the year is the Resident Evil 2 remake, because I think it is fantastic. I hadn't actually played much Resident Evil before or knew much about the series, so it's kind of like going in blind because I knew it was an amazing title and everyone had hyped it up for years on end. So I thought, you know what, go in with the remake, see what's going on, and just get in from there. And I didn't expect Resident Evil, this is going to sound like dumb bitch behaviour, but I didn't expect Resident Evil to be a puzzle game. I always thought it was like survival against zombies, battle through. I didn't realise there was so much solving little puzzles, as in finding things that fit into the statues and figuring where to go and plotting routes. And it was discovering that part of it got me so invested so quickly. And I think for a remake and the way that it's been redone, looking at the original graphics versus now, it's so beautiful to play through. I mean, I know it's full of decaying people and diseased horrors and all sorts of gross stuff, but the way that it looks as you're doing all these puzzles and everything as well, I just think it's a really good immersive game. It was my favourite little story of the year. It was one that I felt most invested in. I wanted to see what was going on with Leon and Ada and Claire and all that sort of thing. I want to know what was going on with them all. So I think it's definitely my game of the year, and it's one of those things that because I've invested in it this year, it's now sparked up a whole new interest in a franchise that I hadn't experienced much of before. So I go back and play the original RE remake. I say the original RE remake, and then the new ones that are coming out and everything. It's got a new fan from me from playing it this way. Resident Evil 7's next on my list to smash through because of all of the VR stuff. I want to see the VR version of it. That's what needs to happen.
Oh my god!
I know. I'm not ready, but yeah, I've dabbled in all the other little games now, and I just think it's such a fantastic series to get into, and that I'm very thankful that it gave me that this year. So it's my game of the year for newfound love. Oh, what a game! But yeah, no, back it.
It is Death Stranding, and I know it's not going to be a lot of people's game of the year because, perhaps rightly so, it has been criticised as sort of, a FedEx simulator, a Royal Mail simulator where you're just delivering parcels and you're doing fetch quests. Very good. But the problem is with that, in my opinion, it's not about the destination necessarily, it's about the journey, and I found that journey so captivating. I haven't had a game that I've just lived and breathed like this in so long. Every single waking minute I wanted to play this game, and if I wasn't playing this game, I was thinking about the game. I was in here and I was wondering about what I was going to do later on to get my deliveries up, to get my roads built, to just build America and make it whole again. And for some reason, I found myself so interested in systems that if they were in any other game, I wouldn't have really been interested in. I spent so much time building a road from Lake Knot City right the way down to South Knot City. And when I looked back on my work and the hours I'd put in, tens of hours I put in building that for other people, I felt immense satisfaction. But that's just one part of it. I love how you have to make a world that initially seems insurmountable and huge, small and connected. I love that you do that for the players, but it really resonated with me because of the story. And without spoiling it, it has a sort of perhaps basic point of, the world is kind of doomed. The world is going to be over. You're going to die, Rich. Everyone's going to die. It is horrible and it's sad, but it's about making the most of that time. And as someone who lives his life irrationally thinking the end is coming around every corner and worrying about that, I thought that was a very salient point that resonated with me quite deeply. And I thought it was very effectively done, even though it has a lot of Kojima BS that is at times annoying. Princess Beach, there's a moment where someone says that, and I don't want to spoil it, but that's one of the worst things I've ever heard. But at the same time, he does nail the landing, and it hit me in an emotional way that I just didn't expect, because I love Kojima's games. I love them for, the philosophy and the stories and the characters, but I've never really been emotionally hit by one of his narratives until this.
Well, in a year in which there was a remake of my all-time favourite game, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, you'd think that would be the shoo-in, the surefire choice, but in actual fact, it wasn't, because apparently it doesn't count because of some bizarre arcane criteria, but also there was another game which I can still hardly believe it exists, and it is not just the game of the year, it's the game of the decade, the game of the century. It is, of course, Shenmue III. So a few weeks back, on this very channel, I said I was very afraid of this game coming out. How could it possibly live up to the expectations, not just of Shenmue fans, but the expectations of an industry that's dramatically moved on since Shenmue changed it all those years back? And the answer is, it's absolutely done it. It's hit it out of the park. It has no right to be as good as it is. Although I should point out that objectively, if you're not a Shenmue fan, it's actually not a great game. But what was this game trying to achieve? It was trying to bring more Shenmue to the fans who funded it, who effectively produced it. And it's done that and then some. It has the feel, it has the same bad voice acting, it has the sense of place, the meticulous daily life, the sort of quotidian tedium that defined Shenmue 2 and 1. And that doesn't necessarily sound like a great thing, but this is exactly what defines this game. And it's done it absolutely magically. The more it went on, the more I couldn't believe what a towering achievement it was. It's not for everybody, it's not for most people. It's for Shenmue fans though, and I am one, and it just blew me away. I loved it. Fantastic stuff.
Honourable mention for my Game of the Year, because it's early access, it's like bringing up the whole debate of whether you give it a Game of the Year slot, but Satisfactory. I said right at the beginning of this year, literally the first episode of the year, which was most anticipated of 2019. I said that I was super, super duper hyped for this 3D first-person Factorio game, and I absolutely adored it the entire year. It's been such a great time, so Coffee Stain, well done. You get my honourable mention for Game of the Year this year with Satisfactory, but my favourite people in the entire universe, in the world of gaming, they're based right here in the UK. I love them to pieces, my boys and girls at Frontier. Released Planet Zoo only a matter of weeks ago, and as a huge Planet Coaster fan, shock horror, the next game in that franchise was of course going to be an easy sell for me, and it was. And since the beta, since the launch, it is one of the most immaculate park sims I've ever played. I love Planco to bits, and Planco would still win it over, for me personally, over Planet Zoo, but Planet Zoo is such an astonishing achievement in game design, not only in terms of how they've managed to juggle everything, because when you dig deep into a park sim, there's a lot going on, and that's enough to keep the player on their toes. I went to see a couple of the folks at Frontier do a talk at EGX this year about how the development of Planet Zoo went along, and it's like, wow, how the Christ did you keep on top of all of this stuff? Like, it's genuinely one hell of an achievement to keep everything balanced within the park. You've got all these different AIs all working at the same time, all of these mechanics having to work together. They've managed to get this balance absolutely perfect. So come release, it is such an amazing time sync game. You care about all the animals you have. I have red pandas, and they're the best.
They are the best.
They are the cutest things. I have lions, I have some tortoises. What else have I got in my zoo? There's not much. I spend loads of time being very, very specific with my building.
This is a small zoo.
So it's really, there's like 5 enclosures, but I've spent like 15 hours building 5 enclosures, so that's what I do.
You got any sloths?
No, there's no sloths in the game yet.
You get sloths?
Not yet.
Damn.
But they will do. There's no penguins yet either.
Okay,
But
console
I want console release. Get Planco first. But yeah, Planet Zoo for me is probably my #1 game of the year, which again isn't a surprise for me, but if you do have a PC, go and play Planet Zoo, because not only do Frontier deserve all of your money, please, they really, really do care. As a game company in 2019 that aren't going to buy into any of the crap we get with AAA stuff, that's automatically a sale for people. But also the game is absolutely immaculate. Get excited for Planco on consoles. Then you'll see the way! You'll see the light, Scott!
You're not paid by the rich!
But I want to be!